Hello, my name is Jasmine Davila, and I like medieval times.
Welcome to the Finding Favorites podcast, where we explore your favorite things without using an algorithm. Here's your host, Leah Jones.
Hello and welcome to Finding Favorites. I'm your host, Leah Jones, and this is the podcast where we talk about people's favorite things and get recommendations without using an algorithm. I am back with, I believe, my first three-peat, if not I don't know, a funny thing for four times.
Yeah, quad Pete, maybe?
Quad-peat?
Right? Could be that.
A full deck? A full quarter? I don't know. A whole football game of
Right.
guesting. I'm here with my friend Jasmine Davila. Jasmine is a writer and producer in Chicago who has appeared in venues both small and medium-sized, reading and live lit shows such as The Right Club, 20 by 2 Chicago, Funny Haha. She is the host of Misspoken, which should make its live return to the Gallery Cabaret in 2023. You can find her most places on the internet as Jasmine D. Jasmine, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you doing? Thank you for having me again.
I'm happy to have you back. I am on the tail end of bronchitis, which means that I am doing some sneezing and coughing. So I was supposed to be at a fundraiser tonight in the suburbs and realized that that was not a place I needed to be. But yeah, I mean, I'm good. I'm feeling pretty good with caveat bronchitis.
Right.
How are you?
I am good. I'm just, it's Sunday evening, so I'm sort of winding it down from what I consider sort of a busy weekend for myself, which, in these times at my age means I did one sort of biggish thing yesterday and I did sort of a smaller thing today. And, it's not even 8 o'clock and I'm pretty much tucked in and, ready to be asleep, almost as soon as this interview is over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel the same. I did one thing yesterday. I think maybe I meant to do something last night, but I think I just went to bed early.
Yeah.
And today I had I had like a brunch at Moody's that lasted 4 hours.
Oh.
And then then I went to Walgreens and they had given me an old prescription and not the one I needed. So I went and got my new medicine. And then I decided that it was too much to then also go to Skokie with a pocket full of cough drops and but yeah, I hear you. Like, one or two things on the weekend now is about all I can handle. Can't do multiple things in one day. It just doesn't happen anymore.
No, not at all. You can't.
No. And one of the things you did this weekend,
yes,
which is what I pitched you, I was like, do you want to come on and talk about being a fan of medieval times?
Oh, yeah.
And then we thought maybe we'll zoom out and talk about good things to do when the weather starts to turn, because we are looking at, yesterday was our first official snow dusting, I think, of the season.
Yes, I think so.
And so we kind of thought we might zoom out and talk about things to do when it's cold out. What are we going to do this winter? COVID winter number 3.
Exactly. And you'd think that considering it's COVID winter number 3, that people like I at the very least would sort of have this down. Like I'd already sort of know like the top 10 or top 5 things to do inside in Chicago when it's cold out. But
yeah,
things like, a pandemic, can sort of affect, what's going on that list or, sort of what can be considered sort of a good activity to do. And, medieval, that idea came to mind when you first mentioned medieval times. I mean, going yesterday and I've been before, is because I think because this is a question that always that people will pose generally via social media to their friends when the temperatures drop and you think, well, I don't want to go to a movie. I've done all my errands. I've been to the Art Institute, already or more times than I can count this year because I already have a membership. What else can I do? or it's not only like, something that I need to do, but, I have friends visiting from out of town. My elderly parents are here for a month. I have small children I need to entertain.
Mm-hmm.
And no one wants to do the same old thing. So, and I always try to rack my brain, for things to do,
Yeah.
especially, and it's hard to do. And it's funny to think that, well, not funny, but, it's sort of strange to think that this would be a difficult question to answer, given that, we live in Chicago. It's a big city with
Yeah.
all sorts of, cultural attractions and things to do. And then maybe it's because all of our friends are so sophisticated and blasé. They're like, "Oh, what? The Museum of Contemporary Art? Are you mad? Like I was just there. Or that old place, blah, super boring." And I say, "Well, I'm not a concierge, and you're not paying me."
Right. Right.
So, yeah.
Well, let's start with
Mm.
medieval times.
Oh,
Although I
yes.
will come to the defense of movies because yesterday I went to the music box for
Yeah.
like a very special. So it's like, not a movie, but yes, a special movie
It's
is
an
good when it's cold
event,
outside.
special
Because
occasion.
I know you like a special movie.
Yeah, I like a special movie, and I think that certainly the music box like deserves like a lot of discussion just because, they're not just like the AMC, like a chain. They're a cultural institution. Like
Yeah.
they're not just a movie house. They are really a gathering place for, you know, people who love different types of movies. Because at first I was sad to turn down your invitation to go. Because it wasn't just a screening, right, of that movie that's
Right.
just so, I think, taken the internet by storm, because it was also a Q&A with the director, I want to
Yes.
say.
So yeah, it was a screening of RRR, which is an
Mm,
Indian movie that has truly taken the world by storm.
yeah, yeah.
And the director was in the house and did a Q&A afterwards, and it was a sold out, right? It's 700 seats. And they encouraged us, the woman who was kind of the MC said that when she saw it for the first time, there were confetti cannons, there were people dancing in the aisles, and so they kind of encouraged us within reason,
Mhm,
like, don't essentially, like, please don't throw your popcorn, it's not Rocky Horror, but like
right.
get into it.
Mhm,
And this is a 3-hour action adventure mythic quest Tollywood movie,
mhm,
and with a huge like 10-minute dance scene in it at in the middle, and then there's one after the credits, and people cheered, they yelled, they booed when like known villains were introduced. I mean, it was wild.
I
Standing
am.
ovations at the intermission and
Mhm.
at the end, and when like multiple standing ovations. My hands hurt from clapping along to the songs with the dances.
Mhm.
Um and people were kept filming, and I was like, it's so rude to film, like,
Yeah.
but then when I saw on Twitter, it was people that wanted to show what the experience of seeing it in a theater was like. So they were
Uh-huh.
filming times when they thought the crowds would go wild. Um to be able to show like the crowd experience, because so many people just watched it on Netflix at home alone.
Yeah.
Or it was people who were Indian, who had never been to like had not been in Chicago to a sold out theater of people cheering and screaming for
Mhm.
Indian revolutionary mythic storytelling, right? It was one of like the top 3 probably movie going experiences I've ever had in my life.
That sounds so wonderful.
Yeah. And then I didn't, of course I didn't see anyone I knew, but then once I got on Twitter, I saw that like at least 5 other people I knew were
Yeah.
there. Like
Yeah.
that people I knew were there, and but we all had masks, it was a pretty masked crowd.
Mhm.
I think that's something else I like about the music box.
Oh,
It's a
yeah.
pretty
Mhm.
responsible crowd.
Yeah.
Now you've got some music box traditions, right? For the
I
winter?
do. I do for the winter. For the past few years, I think ever since, because, you and I both have, lots of friends with children.
Mm-hmm.
Well, one of my good friends, Jacinda, like, who's a Chicago native, it's been a tradition of ours ever since, like, she had children. And actually, even before I think she had kids, that we would go at Christmas time to the Music Box for their holiday show, which for anyone who's not familiar with the Music Box holiday show, they'll do double features of or not double features, you can see one of the movies, that you have to see both. They'll do special holiday screenings of It's a Wonderful Life and White Christmas, and you can buy double feature tickets. It's a little bit cheaper than buying tickets, because like they'll have like the screenings alternate usually on the weekends between Thanksgiving and Christmas. I'll go with just my friend Jacinda and her family, and we've been taking the kids. Although for the last few years, because of the pandemic and also her kids getting a little bit older, they're not so interested, in sitting and watching an old movie with their adults, that we haven't been. Though I did go last year with a couple of other friends. Although I've been by myself too. And the way they do it at the Music Box is really special because they don't just like, show the movies. They decorate the entire theater. They have a quartet of carol singers who come in and entertain in the lobby and in the bar between showings. The Music Box also is sort of famous for their pipe organ that dates back to the opening of the theater.
Yeah.
So they bring in the very famous Dennis Scott, who's Chicago famous, to play carols. People sing along, and of course Santa comes out. He sings, he throws candy, and it's just so much fun. So that's something that's coming up. Though I haven't yet bought my tickets yet about for myself or anyone else. I think I might go probably at some point, probably on Thanksgiving. So,
Yeah.
but that's another reason to love going to the Music Box, is that like they program special things like that and they've been doing it for years.
And we went during, must have been the first Christmas of the pandemic.
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm.
They did it for the drive-through. So we saw
White Christmas, I think. Yeah.
no, the every
Or
time
was
a
it?
bell rings, an
Yeah,
angel
that's. Oh, I'm
gets
sorry. Oh no. Oh, that's right. Yeah,
uh
It's a Wonderful Life.
It's a
Yeah.
Wonderful Life.
Yeah.
It is a
And that was
drive-through.
yeah, that was an interesting experience because I think when we went with I think we went with Joe and Justin, and like
Mm-hmm.
my friends were there, but we couldn't get tickets to White Christmas just because those had sold out really quickly. So but the way that they did the concessions, I thought was interesting because it's a drive-in, but you're in this like huge field that's like just like basically a parking lot. They projected the movie against the side of like the indoor sort of like sports facility. But if you ordered food, you had to like get out of your car and walk across this large parking lot to go inside, up a ramp,
Right.
order the food, and then they'd be like, it's interesting that they wouldn't give it to you to take with you. They just be like, you can go back to your car and we'll bring it out. And I'm like, that's nice, but it's also just it takes so much time that way.
Right.
But yeah, I think since that, I think that was just the one time that they did it with the Music Box did that, and I don't think, they haven't done it since because I think last year they did the holiday show back in the theater.
Yeah.
Yeah, so no walking around in the dark looking for popcorn.
Right. And no having your popcorn blow away, which
Exactly. No
also
have.
happened. Yeah, I think the Music Box and then Logan Theater, do they still do rentals?
They do actually.
Yeah.
So the Music Box also does rentals, but they have less auditoriums to rent out than the Logan Theater does.
Yeah, I mean, at the Music Box, it's like, do you want the room with 700 seats or do you
Right,
want
or
the room with 30? Like, there's no
exactly.
in
Yeah.
between.
Yeah, there's no in between. Whereas like with the Logan, I think they have like I think six little auditoriums, and I think
Mm-hmm.
at the most they can seat up in each that's like maybe 100 or two, couple hundred. Like it's a pretty decent amount, and they're pretty affordable actually. Just because they have like more of the smaller spaces, whereas I think like with the Music Box, it's like it's thousands of dollars for like the big one because
Yeah.
you know
Okay, so generally avoiding movies, but sometimes movies are okay.
yeah.
But you yesterday went out to medieval times,
I did. I
which
did.
we went. Did we go for your 40th?
We went for my 40th birthday. Yes, we did. So that was 6 years ago. And everyone listening can do the math. Um, but we didn't do it on the occasion, on the actual day itself, because that
Right.
was the year I turned 40, and I remember thinking it's a milestone birthday. It's super important. I should celebrate with as many people, because that was like the year that I actually traveled. I went away with some other girlfriends, like who were also my
Oh,
age, and
right.
when I came back and I was like, that's not enough. I need more. People
Mm-hmm.
need to celebrate me. So I suggested, so we went, I think we had maybe about 20 or 30 people.
Yeah.
And we went in July,
Yes.
July of that year. And that was the last time I had gone. And before that, it had been even longer. The last time I'd gone before that was like in 1999. So,
Oh, wow.
um,
But this
and
time, did you get the floral crown? You got like you had the floral crown, you had the paper crown.
I did,
How was
yeah.
it?
So
What you went back like knowing how to see
how
now
to sort
there
of
I can hear the
do it.
sirens. I think they did come shooting down Oh, they're probably taking
Probably.
someone to Swedish.
Yeah, probably.
Hmm.
Yeah, because you live closer to Swedish than I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the reason I went is because it wasn't my idea, strangely enough. I usually have like, silly sort of frivolous ideas like going to
Mm-hmm.
medieval times, or, going to the corn maze, which I'm so disappointed I didn't get to do this year. But we can talk about that later.
Oh, yeah.
Um, I went because a friend of mine, Chloe, had a friend coming from out of town, and she was looking for something to do with her friend as well as like her daughter who was 13. And I guess for whatever reason, like, medieval times just came to mind, and she very graciously invited me to join them. So of course I did, because I don't think I'm ever going to say no to medieval
Mm-mm.
times. Yeah. And the floral crown. Of course, first of all, my friend Chloe and her friend, they both dressed up. Like Chloe found like a medieval gown, like that she bought.
Whoa.
No, it was like a costume that she bought off of
Sure.
Amazon. Yeah, but she had like a cute little like like a fur trimmed stole. I didn't have
Wow.
any, yeah, sort of get into the spirit, and her friend Michael had like a sort of a pirate vest thing going on. I didn't have anything like, costume-wise to wear, but I had the floral crown that I bought last summer at the Renaissance Fair, which is a great summertime thing to
Nice.
do. Yeah, so I thought that would be appropriate, and I wasn't wrong, because when we first walked into the castle, which I think is very conveniently located, like it's outside of Chicago. You have to drive there, but it's it's right on the
You can
expressway.
see it from the expressway.
You can
I think
see
it's
it
in
from,
Schaumburg or something,
yeah,
right?
something like that. It's like Schaumburg or
It's like
Arlington
past
Heights.
IKEA or something.
It
It's
is like, yeah,
far.
it's not, yeah, not much far. Yeah, it's like basically you could even, like, if you wanted to fly into O'Hare and then go to medieval times the same day, you could do that,
You
because
could.
they're very short drive. So it's modeled after, according to the website, it's modeled after sort of not a specific, but just sort of like a generic 11th century castle in Spain. So yeah, just look for the castle on the highway. The floral clown worked out, and the the floral crown worked out. Because as soon as I walked in, I saw a teenage girl also wearing a floral crown, and she looked at me sort of aghast, like, "How dare that old lady walk in here wearing a floral crown too?" And I was like, of course, my thought was like, I'm in the right place.
Right?
Very generously, my friend Chloe sprung for sort of like the VIP experience, which wasn't that much more than the ticket. But what it got us was, you walk in and it's sort of dim. It's sort of like, I guess, like a loading area. Like you line up, to go to the checkout desk, which is just like around a corner. You go to the checkout desk, give them the name that's on your reservation. And so we were VIP, so they gave us a special badges to wear on lanyards. And so we get directed to, not to sort of like the regular line to the like the line where you get your picture taken by the photographer.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's just like a simple backdrop of, you know, I think a mural of like, like a countryside. But, it's really exciting is that, I guess not exciting, but we could see like people like lining up photographs ahead of us, behind us. There are lots of kids, of course, lots of families, lots of Girl Scout troops, and we'll mention them again later.
Oh.
Um, a lot of kids dressed up like little girls in like Disney princess costumes for the most part. But
Aw.
everybody is super excited. Because it's basically as soon as you get confirm for your reservation, or we got our badges, that's when you before between that and the photographer, that's when you go to the table where they pass out the crowns. And with medieval times, there are different colored sections. It's like basically medieval times is almost like it's like a sports bar. It's like going to a sporting event because you get seated in one of six different sections that are all separated by color. So this time we were in the black and white section. So our crowns are black and white. When you get called in to get seated, which is after a period of time spent mingling in the lobby where you can get a drink in a novelty glass, or you can visit like the room full of like replica medieval torture devices. You can buy souvenirs like light up
Mm-hmm.
swords. You can buy crowns. You can buy all sorts of things while you're waiting to get let in. When you get let in, what it is like this older gentleman who's like a part of the show because it's a whole theatrical experience. It's dinner theater with horses, but also a sports bar. Yeah.
Right.
It
It's a
sounds
sports
confusing.
bar where you are assigned to a team when you arrive.
Yeah, where you're right.
So they're
Yeah,
like,
and
hey, no, you're going to be cheering for Chelsea. You get the
yeah,
Chicago Bears.
right. You
You
get
get the Raiders. And you get
right.
Team Purple.
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly how it is. And I don't know, I've never been in a group where people ask for a specific color. Maybe you can make that sort of request if you're doing like a special reservation for like a large group and you go through like the group ticket sales department. But it's like, you walk up and I think sort of depending on like what your reservation is, or like, they just say you're black and white or you're red and yellow
Mm-hmm.
or blue or whatever. So it's not, I don't, which is all just to say I don't have like a particular attachment, like, to a particular section or even like a favorite, even that's even like my favorite color, by the way. So by the time like, they call you, it's just sort of like amplifier, sort of like the team feeling. You get seated by section, by colors. Um, and also the VIPs get seated first. They're like, if you have a VIP badge and you're seeing this section, go through that door first. And I did have a moment of like we were walking past and like we're walking through the tunnel, people are waiting to get let in who are also in our section, but they were
Yeah.
like, oh, they're the VIPs, they get seated first. And I'm
Right.
like, damn right we do.
Uh-huh.
That's right. Like, it's like, I don't want to make anybody feel bad, but I was like, listen, like, it's like, yeah, we're going first because we're obviously the most important people in here.
Yes.
And it's like an oval arena. There's like on the floor of the arena, like there's sand. Around the sides of the arena, you have like mounted like weapons, and also other like devices that could get used in the show. You walk to sort of like an aisle where your section is, and you walk down it. So we were at table 2, which for our section was front row. So like this is
Fun.
this is really great. I've never sat this close. Um, and you sit, and they're just like rows of theater seats. Yours are seated in front of which is like a long wooden table, which is already set with a plate, a plastic like drinking mug, a metal bowl with a handle on it. Some cups have like little flags for the color of the section, and the menu, the bill of fare, which is nicely printed on the napkin that you're also going to be using to wipe your hands, and a wet nap because when you're at medieval times, you eat everything with your hands. There's no
Right.
utensils.
Of
I
course
think,
not.
yeah, because it's not like they had forks in the 11th century. Also, I think because they don't want to give people, anything that they might accidentally toss or throw on,
Throw at a horse. Yeah.
at a horse, which would be terrible.
I was just
Um,
on their website and they have a whole ranch, the Chapel Creek Ranch,
yeah,
where their
yeah,
horses are
mm,
born and where they retire.
yeah,
And then each castle has 20 to 30 horses,
yeah,
and a horse can serve a knight for 12 years or more.
yeah.
And then they retire back to the ranch.
Yeah, and you know what? I think that, like, sort of, I think I was thinking about this, and I'm really, thinking about this last night that these horses work so hard. These people work so hard. So I would hope that, like, these horses that like can be with a certain knight for like a number of years, like, I assume they get like really good care and like they develop these relationships because these shows are really complicated.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's not just like, before you get to the jousting, because there is jousting.
Of course there it's medieval
They It's
times.
medieval times. Like they run, they run at like full speed. Like, they do a lot of like intricate like formations, like in really close quarters. Like the arena is big, but like horses are massive. It's like, they're just huge. And it's gotta be, really difficult for the horses and the humans to do it like under bright lights where you've got people yelling and
Right.
cheering them. And it's gotta be so tough. So I think, they better treat these horses like the angel babies that they are,
Yeah.
because it's such a beautiful show, and it's so much work that they do. So, but yeah, to go back, yeah, to the scene, you walk in, you sit down, you're the wench, which, you're told several times you can only call them wenches when you're inside, when they're serving you. Otherwise, they have names, they have name tags.
Right.
We had this lovely young lady named Natalie. No one ever called her a wench. We all just called her Miss Natalie or Lady Natalie,
Yeah.
which she thought was hilarious. And Isaac, who, helped her with our section. They're both like so hardworking and just really wonderful. Um,
Were
you
they
can
wearing
buy
secret union
They were
pro union
not.
buttons?
Not yet that I can tell. So we did talk about this in the car on the ride home, that because I don't know if the Chicago Medieval Times, that their cast and staff have unionized yet, if there was something they're talking about. Because the one in New Jersey is already unionized, and the one in Southern California, which I think is their
Right.
Buena Park location, they're talking about it, or they're just
They
about to
voted
vote.
4 days ago, yeah.
Yeah, they voted really, really recently. Yeah, because we did talk about like the piece in the LA Times, on the car ride back, about how, how they interviewed people who worked there and like had worked there for years, and were like, if you're a performer, if, like, especially in Southern California, and you want to work in entertainment, but like you're not going to make it in Hollywood, it's like the dream is to work at a place like Disney, or like, any of the big amusement parks or entertainment complexes that a lot of people go to for vacation. And like, it's not necessarily the best paying job, but it's like, it's just because like you love to do that kind of work, and especially if you're interested in doing stunt work.
Yeah,
uh
it seems like it's a really if you want it
yeah,
seems like a way and it's a way to get daily work.
exactly, and a way to get experience too. So if you want to like eventually like do stunt work with animals, or like in the movies or TV, I think that like doing it medieval times, like, on a regular basis where they have multiple shows per day, is probably a really great way to get training and practice and that sort of thing. Like, I was also reading, like, the LA Times piece about how, like, if you're interested in becoming a knight, that, the knights usually start out as squires. So that's why it could take a long time to sort of get up to the knight level, because you have to do all the grunt work, which is like, setting up the weapons for the jousting, like cleaning up after the animals, like in the arena between things. Because those guys, like, they were always running around with like a mop and like a thing to just scoop, like clean up after the horses. And it just was really intense. And so it was nice to sort of be upfront for that, and to see all of that hard work, sort of happening. Like, I think it really sort of didn't take away from like sort of like the magic, or sort of like the immersion experience, that like, you're at a castle, and you're at, a tournament in honor of the young queen who presides over, the castle itself, and whose honor like all of this is taking place. Um, Lots of school groups. Like, they're quieter, like, you start out, and, the lights go down, you're drinking your Pepsi or your lemonade that's already been poured into your plastic mug, and then the lights come on, the horses come out, everyone parades around, including the squires, the queen comes out, she gives a speech, everything goes. Um, it's like for a 2-hour show. I honestly I could have sat there for like another hour at least, just because I just could not stop, you know, watching and oohing and awing over the horses, and like,
Well, and the
the
horses
dressage.
do so many right?
They do
Dressage.
so much dressage, yeah.
The
Um,
they have so many types of horses doing so many types of horsey things.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and that's even all before the jousting, which is like, to me, and like, the really sort of like dangerous stuff, where they're like dangerous, like, or like sort of or seems risky, for the horses as well as for, the human performers. Because like the knights, like, especially when you get to the jousting part, like they're running at each other at like, I think it's supposed to be like 25 miles an hour with a lance, and they've got these like little wooden, like, basically targets, their shields. And I think, it's got to be like, sort of professional rate, like, wrestling. Like, it's not, it's not fake, it's fixed, right? So, like, most likely it's already been scripted, for everyone's safety. Like, this is going to be the villain, this is going to be the hero, this is the person who's going to win, this is the person who's going to lose. And so when it comes to the jousting, it's like the horses will do it several times, but never more than like like two or three passes before
Right.
one of the knight gets gets thrown from, or basically like carefully throws himself from his horse into the sand, and that's when they start like the actual combat, which is incredibly exciting as well, because they're working with
Oh,
all
I
these different
forgot that they did combat. I thought it was just jousting and the so
oh
then
no.
they fight with each other once they're on the ground.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and they work
Mm.
all sorts of different types of weapons. So the maces and like the long swords and like the short swords that they that like you're holding two at a time. A lot of like throwing each other. It can be really intense. And sort of being able to watch it, you could sort of see like if you're familiar like with like stage combat and you've seen that to see how like how athletic it is, and they do this for like and this is like the better part of like the last half. It's like a 2-hour experience from top to finish, and so the fact that they spend like the better part of like the last hour of the show just like doing all this really athletic stuff is really impressive. And all the while you're just sitting there just like eating like just shoving chicken in your mouth, and like wiping your
Mhm.
hands on your pants despite the because you've already shredded your napkin or
The
what.
one your one napkin.
The one napkin. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
sure I could have asked Natalie for more, but I just got really worked up, and I was, like, fine with, like, wiping my hands on, like, the backs of my jeans, because
Yeah.
who even looks there anyway, and it's dark, so, um, it was just a really, great time, and it wasn't just, like, families and little kids. There were, like, some, like, groups of just, like, adults who were there. You can buy alcoholic drinks in the bar, and they even have, like, servers who'll come out and, like, take your orders if you're interested in that, but otherwise, like, I'm not a big drinker, so I was totally fine with like, the basically unlimited refills of like, Pepsi that I can get. Um, there were like church groups there, and who's there because at some point,
Do they
like a
do like a
herald,
roll call?
a roll call, like, happy birthday to such a princess whoever, or like, happy like bachelorette party for these folks, and there were a lot of call outs for school groups, like church groups and Girl Scout groups who from what I could hear, I think all the Girl Scouts, excuse me, were surprise, surprise, all seated in the green section, even if they weren't like with each other, not affiliated with each other. And so, of course, at the end of the evening, those girls were really excited because the winning knight of the entire evening, was the Green Knight, and
The
those
Girl
kids
Scouts night.
and the Girl Scouts night were really, really loud. They sounded like kind of thirsty actually, because some of the combat could be really intense. And these kids were screaming like things like "Finish him!" like "Fight to the
Oh,
death!" and it was hilarious. I loved it. I really did.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you go on their site and you go under groups, it specifically says troops.
Oh,
Like if
yeah.
you want to bring Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts, here's how you do it. Like they really
Exactly. Mhm.
market to them.
Yeah, because I think it's like definitely like because they want that business. There are so many scouting organizations, and um I've never done it before with like a large group where you get like a group ticket discount, but I'm sure that what they have to offer in terms of discounts have got to be
Oh, I'm
pretty good.
sure.
Because like I mean, and I think it's got to be well worth it because it's something you can do with with a large group of children indoors for guaranteed 2-3 hours, depending on like the transportation and whatever. Like 2 hours in which they get like they sit down, they get fed, they get drinks, they get all this entertainment, they get tired out. So I imagine
Mhm.
by the time they get home, they're like, "That was awesome," and they pass out, and then that's it. So
Yeah.
it's good. It was. I mean, I was exhausted by the time I got home, and I am not like a 7-year-old child. I'm an older lady, but it was just a lot of fun. It was a great time. And I did actually keep my mask on for the most part, except when I was like actively eating and drinking. A lot of people did not wear masks. I tested myself, beforehand, and I was negative, and I don't have any symptoms, but um I mean, I don't know if this doesn't necessarily make people feel better, but like the arena is really big. It's also cold.
Yeah,
Because I
it's
think it
really
has to,
like high ceilings.
Yeah, high ceilings, it's really big, like, when you're sitting in the rows, like, like their theater seats, so, like, sort of in your row, like, it's kind of like I don't say it's a super tight fit, but, like, there's quite a bit of distance between you and the row behind you or the row in front of you because they have to have these walkways for the servers to come through when they're dropping off food and drink, and then when they're collecting your dishes after. So it can't be like, they could probably no, they couldn't fit in more seats in there if they wanted to because they would need to have, like, that space for the
Yeah.
servers to come in and out, but I felt really, really safe. Like, I wore my mask, so did my friends, but I saw a lot of other folks wearing masks, as well, so it all depends sort of on your
Yeah.
personal comfort level, I think.
So looking ahead into the winter,
Mm,
okay, one, you found a new Filipino restaurant today
yeah,
on Lawrence.
I did, very close to me, very close to you where we live, like, sort of Andersonville, Lincoln Square, Ravenswood, etcetera, so I didn't find it, I didn't know this place was there. I, only found out about it, because, I found out because the host of the storytelling show I did that this afternoon, the one in the guy's garage, um, I forgot how it came up, if we were talking about Filipino food or we're talking about I think somehow Jollibee came up in the conversation, and he said, "Oh, there's a Filipino place near us." I said, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Yeah, I think they're called Namit or Namit. They're on." He's like, "Yeah, they're just on Lawrence, just like almost exactly across from the Wendy's." And I'm very familiar with that Wendy's because I
Yeah.
love a good Wendy's baked potato. And I said, "I think I'm going to head there after the show."
Yeah.
And it was right there. It's very just a little storefront. And I walked in and there's a lady behind the counter, and I think another lady who's probably most likely her mom who was taking a phone order. Lots of phone orders. I didn't ask how long they'd been there because they seemed pretty busy, but I just got food to
Right.
go. Then I took it home and I just ate some of it, not most of it, because it's a lot of food I got. Um, but yeah, I'm very excited about it. And it seems I think they serve Filipino breakfast as well. So
Nice.
yeah. Hmm.
Let's see. I found Yelp has November of 21. I'm trying to see how far back. November of
Mm,
21 is the oldest Yelp review I found so far.
okay. Oh, so they've been
So
there
I
for a
don't
long
think
time.
we're,
Hmm.
like, let me filter by, I don't want to filter by, I want oldest first. Let's see. Oh, the oldest is November of 21.
Okay.
So a year ago. But
Ah.
I don't know how I have also not seen it, and I am at that Wendy's far too often. These pictures look amazing.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, they have arroz caldo, which looks amazing.
Oh yeah, that's what I got. I haven't. That's what I haven't eaten yet. Because after I had like four lumpia and some chicken adobo,
Mm-hmm.
with rice, I was like, okay, that's it. I can't eat anymore. I mean, I want to, but I shouldn't. The arroz caldo is something that I mean that's gonna keep because it's soup, so that's what I'm definitely having for breakfast tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to mean that because usually, me, it's like when I say, "Oh yeah, I'll just get it in a box. I'll have it for breakfast tomorrow." Usually means I'm gonna eat it tonight right before I go to
Right.
bed. But I need to stop doing that because then I wake up in the next morning and I'm like, "Oh damn, I really did need to eat that for breakfast. But this time I'm gonna
Right.
do it." So yeah. What's exciting about it is that I got a little container that's labeled Otto's Caldo toppings. So
Oh,
it's gotta
nice.
be they're giving me tofu. Ooh, giving me some chicken nuggets. Oh my god, this is oh, and a little lemon just I'm very excited. Okay, now I'm glad I opened it, but now I'm like, am I gonna be able to restrain myself from eating the chicken nuggets? Um, I don't know. I'm serious about I might have to eat the chicken nuggets before I go to bed. I mean, there's like four. That's like the perfect amount to eat before bed.
Yeah. Maybe that's good. Like, what are winter foods you like? If you're
Okay.
ordering either delivery in the winter or like, what are the winter foods that you like to try and get in Chicago?
if I can get in Chicago, like I'm trying to be better about ordering things that I know that I would not easily be able to make myself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I still find it difficult to resist ordering pasta, just because I love it so much.
Yeah.
Um, and
And you have
so,
such good, you've got good options.
and I've got good options that are close to me. So pasta's, a thing. I live near, sort of like a classic pizza and pizza place here in Andersonville called Rinaldi's. And so I'll usually just order like, and we've been there a few times, but I'll usually just get like, the Alfredo, the chicken Alfredo, uh, with
Mm.
carb. Yeah, and that's totally fine. I love ordering like Indian food. Like, how here in Chicago, Indian food is like Northern Indian food. So basic, or like, so it's like butter chicken, any sort of paneer, like that one thing with like the cheese and the peas or the cheese and the spinach, and as much basmati rice that is safe for a single, for a single human to consume in one sitting. I mean, I can endlessly eat like any sort of rice with like a really delicious sauce just dumped all over
Mm-hmm.
it. Like I will eat that forever.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't have much of a sweet tooth. But sometimes if I do order food from the Golden Nugget, like the classic diner, I will sometimes order cheesecake. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, because I don't know if they make their own cheesecake. They say they do on their menu, but I don't know if they do. And honestly, I don't really care if they
Doesn't
do.
matter. They
Doesn't
get it from a
matter.
good bakery.
Right, exactly. They got a guy. They got someone.
Yeah.
Um,
There are days when I'm like, where can I'll order whatever they have for dinner just as long as I can get like carrot cake.
yeah, exactly.
That is the dessert I am most likely going to get delivered. Although
Hmm.
I just so I get like once a week I'll get breakfast delivered from the Dollop Diner.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great place.
Cuz I'll get like their egg sandwich for breakfast and then I'll get like a waffle for lunch. Um
That's such a good idea.
and this week I got um they have a deep fried apple pie pasty.
Oh,
Like
wow.
an apple pie hand pie that they drop in the fryer and then it comes to you covered in maybe like a caramel sauce and fresh fruit. And I ordered that for the first time this week. Ooh, it was so good.
Oh, okay. That
So
sounds
good.
incredible. That sounds so good.
Yeah.
I've never had that there. Like, I've never had any of their, like, not breakfast foods. If you
Mhm.
haven't tried it before, but I love their biscuits.
Oh, I
Their
haven't had their
biscuits,
biscuits.
their biscuits are so flaky. Like, I think they make them in a sheet. Well, they're square or rectangular. It's just that like their biscuits are so flaky. It's almost like they
Mm,
make it out of croissant dough because
yeah.
it's the kind of biscuit you can just like peel into multiple layers that are so
Yeah.
light and just like, just drizzle butter and like the blueberry compote or whatever you get with
Ugh,
it, just like in there, and it's just wonderful. Um,
amazing.
yeah, those are places that I love. Yeah, I've never ordered from Dollar, but I think I have to now. Um,
Yeah.
Except
It's
I
so
guess like
good.
it's so good. I mean, they're not far from me, but if it's one of those days where it's so bitterly cold, I can't even think about like
Mhm.
going past my own front door. It's nice to know that they have that's a good place as an option.
Yeah.
But there's sometimes where I feel like I do want to go out and go out and reward myself with something comforting. And then feel like that was like my major accomplishment. Like that will be like my one thing for the weekend.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah,
that's
those
like,
weekends are coming.
yeah, where it's you do one thing, not one thing per day of the weekend, like not one thing on Saturday and one thing on Sunday.
Yeah.
It's like I did one thing Saturday afternoon and that's it. I'm done for the rest of the weekend. So,
Oh yeah, I am not prepared to commute this winter. I have to commute,
uh-huh.
right?
Yeah, as do
I
I. But
I mean, I
yeah,
know that people commuted all through COVID, but I'm a
yeah,
baby, and this is the
yeah,
first winter I will have had to commute since
and yeah, since
quite some time.
2020. Yeah. I wonder if, and I hate to jinx us, but I wonder if we're due for another polar vortex.
Oh, I'm sure we are.
Yeah.
I'm sure we are.
But on polar vortex days, I don't think anyone's going to expect us to go anywhere.
No.
I would hope not. Though I was, because I was remembering that the job that I had before my current job, I think I was still working there the last time we had a polar vortex, which I want to say was either January 2019 or January 2020. And I remember like the company policy at the time was like we didn't have a work from home policy, which I thought was bananas considering we all
Mhm.
had laptops, we could have easily done it. And they're like, well, if you have to take a day, you're gonna have to take a day. And they try to make people feel guilty about not wanting to go out in like 50 below weather.
Right.
And I do remember my boss at the time saying, yeah, if you want to go ahead and like expense like your taxi rides to and from the office and order
Yeah.
food, if you can get anyone to deliver to you guys at the office, like feel free to send me that expense report. I will,
It'll
I'm
prove
totally
it,
okay
yeah.
with approving that. Like that will
Yeah.
not be a problem.
Well, how about I think another cold weather thing that's good to do in Chicago and other cities,
Hmm.
you love a Korean spa.
I do. Oh my
Specifically
God.
King Spa, but in Chicago, but
Yeah.
oh, there's that new fancy one that I'm real curious about. That's not a Korean spa. It's just like a more
The
Turkish
robe.
bath.
Oh,
That
wait, are you talking?
that
You're not talking about the Roman bath one, like the one that's like in
yeah, it's called like
downtown.
Are or
Oh,
some
yeah.
air.
Yes. Yeah, air. Just
Ah,
air, but like
yay.
somehow spelled out in Roman numerals. I think
Right.
I haven't been there. I'd be interested in trying it out because I think they
Yeah.
have a lot of different pools. It's a different space,
It's a
right?
different type of very different type of space.
Yeah, and I think
Our
that
Air Ancient Bass, 800 West Superior.
ancient stuff. I think we gotta go. I think we've got to treat ourselves to that at
Yeah.
some point. Um, I believe that their wet rooms, unlike a King's Bar Korean spa, like are not gender segregated, so you have to wear bathing suits.
Mhm.
But from what I understand, like their pools they actually have pools that are really big, whereas at King Spa, like the pools they have are really sort of like really big hot tubs. Um, like, you'll have like I think they have four different pools at King Spa, like three hot and one cold with the sauna, and
Mhm.
that's like sort of in their general wet sauna space. But yeah, I've never been to Air. I mean, I've looked at their website,
Yeah.
and they have more of like, these gigantic pools that are the size of like that are the size of a room, and people just sort of hang out and
Yeah.
mingle. Um, and it seems like a sort of like a treat yourself kind of day in a way that is different
Yeah.
from going to King Spa. Like, because my routine for King Spa is like you go to King Spa, and if you don't eat there, because lately I've been going with my friend Carly, we'll usually go to Olive Garden after.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
For some unlimited breadsticks?
Oh yeah, unlimited soup and salad and breadsticks. And yeah, just like the sort of Italian classics that you could only find at Olive Garden,
Mhm.
which definitely definitely have a place in my heart. But I don't know that Air Ancient Baths or whatever have any sort of dining options like in house or.
It doesn't really like I think you might dine on the cucumbers in the water.
Oh dear.
Um Let
Mhm.
me look under. I'm looking at theirs. They have I don't know how I feel about the way they've named things. So
Oh
under
dear.
indulgent experience there's indulgent experiences. There is the love yourself experience, which
Oh
is a
dear.
45-minute massage with amethyst crystals and sandalwood, and then the magical thermal baths and a fresh fruit juice. There's the ancient argon massage, the argon oil used by Berber women for centuries, 75 minutes. That sounds great, actually.
That does.
I guess I think I think it's really funny that they call things ancient experiences. Like it's a
Right.
factory in the West Loop.
Right.
You
Yeah, I
know,
mean, the oldest thing in Chicago is gonna be like date back to like the late 19th century. Like there's nothing ancient around in the city.
right. It's also the just to have the experience of attending the ancient baths is
Yeah.
$145. So
Ooh.
it's
Oh.
very different than King Spa.
Yeah, King
Different
Spa, which
budget.
is
for
very
budget
much.
level. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because with King Spa, if because like you even before, because it's like it says like they're $50, right?
Mhm.
But you can always get a Groupon to King Spa
Right.
that will bring the price down to like $28 or $30.
Yeah.
Alternatively, like the King Spa, which is I forgot like where like which suburb it's in. That's like our near suburb, but like it's in it's like in that shopping area that includes an H Mart. Oh, wait for the siren to go past. So yeah, so it's in the same shopping complex as an H Mart, and I think it used to, like it's still the case where you can go there, and they have their own special coupon for that's cash only. I think for King Spa, that's like about the same price,
Mhm.
so you can do that. But I mean, $145. I mean, if that really only gets you in and access to, but it doesn't include
It's
much
just
more
the
than that.
pools
It's
and
just the
some
pools.
water.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Um. Hmm. Well, maybe one day they will have a Groupon as well. That'll bring the price down to
Right.
more reasonable $75 maybe, and then I
Yeah,
might be
cuz
willing to
King
try it on
Spa
that.
is there's the wet room, but then there's like
The
they
dry
give you these
rooms.
cute little like pajamas
Yeah.
for the dry rooms, like saunas of all different shapes and sizes and
Mhm.
temperatures.
Mhm.
Um
They have all the dry rooms with like that like vary in temperature from cold to very, very hot.
yeah,
Like some rooms with crystals. There's like the upstairs area where you can lie under these funny lamps that I don't know, do things, or just like the area that has like the recliners and the TVs, and you can just lie down. And let's not forget the movie theater
right.
with like the
Yes.
movie, yeah, with like the
With
DVD
whatever movie
player,
happens to be playing at the time.
yeah.
Yeah.
And the movies like are like reliable. It's always at there's always got to be at least one John Wick or a Sylvester Stallone action movie from like the early 2000s on on the roster. The last time I went, I got there just in time to catch like the very beginning of Billy Elliot.
Mm.
And they came at like, the end of and that had just followed like John Wick 2, I believe. Um,
Yep.
they like to show either Baby's Day Out or The Day After Tomorrow, or I don't know. I always get the movies confused because the word day. Um, and then they have like the little cafeteria there as well. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And then you can do facials,
Mhm.
massages, steams,
Scrubs.
acupressure,
Yeah.
scrubs.
Mhm. Yeah, they do the bee steam, the vagina steam, and I done that.
Oh, really?
I did, yes. I don't know
How
what it.
would you've done it once and you're like, "All right, curiosity
Yeah,
sated," or you've done it once and like it's on your list to do again in the future?
I've done it once. I was like, sort of more curiosity sated. Like I
Yeah.
mean, they have all these signs like in the little area, which is like a little nook, just off of like the women's like locker room. So it's like these chairs that are padded, but they have like a little hole cut in the middle of the seat. You sit down naked. They wipe everything down before you sit down.
Of
After you're
course.
done, of course, of course, of course. And you sit, and the attendant will sort of give you like a sort of a personal, like sort of like a tent slash muumuu to wear over yourself that drapes over the chair. She like she'll boil, heat up some water in a kettle, put that in a big bowl with some herbs like wormwood for the most part, and then they just sort of she'll slide it under you under the chair where the steam will waft up through the hole towards your vagina, and your vagina, I guess now that I think about it, will gently sort of, I don't know, it goes up and then I guess it comes back down,
Mhm.
and there are signs everywhere saying like this is what it does, and I don't remember what any of the signs say. Maybe to restore like the pH balance, or just make,
Mhm.
maybe just to make your vagina feel sweaty and good. Or I just remember having an overall sense of like, it's like when you're, I don't know if I don't recall if your car has this, but like if you're sitting in a friend's car and they're like, hey, like my seats have seat warmers, and they turn it on, and it's like that. It's like you're sitting in you're sitting on a friend's car seat that's warm.
Mhm.
but it's also wet, so not exactly like sitting in a warm car seat.
I can only imagine. I feel like I've told this story before on the podcast. I
Mhm.
know I am certain I've told you because this is what I think of every time.
Yeah.
Is that one time I think when I was driving home for Christmas, or I don't remember where I was driving. I
Mm.
stopped at a gas station to use the restroom, and the water, so you know how sometimes the toilet's running, right?
Yeah,
It's not right, the water's running, the tank's filling, and then it just keeps running.
sure.
These people had attached the toilet in the gas station to hot water. And
No.
it
Oh.
was the tank was hot, the seat was hot, and I sat down to use the restroom, and it was hot water under my body while I was trying to use the bathroom, and I'm like, this is so confusing. I'm being steamed in a not like a dangerous level of steam, like I
No, of
wasn't gonna
course
get a
not.
burn,
Sure.
but I was like, I don't like this. That's not to say that like a vaginal steam at a Korean spa where it's done with
Yeah.
wormwood and blah blah blah, like
Mhm.
that's different because that's that. But like just to sit down on a random toilet somewhere in the
Mhm.
Midwest and have the toilet be full of hot water. And I went out and I told them, I'm like, I don't think it's okay that your toilet is full of hot water. And they did not seem bothered by
I'm
it. And it's not like you do hot and cold water hookups to toilets.
No, you don't.
I
I
mean,
mean,
it
you
wasn't a bidet. There wasn't a
right.
bidet.
Yeah, that's the only thing that I can think of because, like, because I have friends with bidets, and I've used them. And there's one in particular I'm thinking of, and I can't believe I'm saying out loud to people, to you, that like I know one person who's like, oh yeah, I use the warm water. This is my friend Chloe, who I mentioned before. We went to
Sure.
medieval times because she's had like a Japanese toilet in her house for years,
Yeah.
and she's got like because some bidets are a little more complex than others, and hers is like it's the whole toilet. It's not just like a bidet hookup that she attaches like a regular toilet. So she has like the warm water and
Fine.
like the regular exactly, but it's not hot. Like it's not yeah, there's nothing getting scalded.
It's not an anonymous toilet
No.
of hot
Yeah.
water
Mm-mm.
just in a random gas, and it was like a one-seater. So it's
Mhm.
not like I could even go to sit down and be like, "Oh, that I don't like that," and then move
Yeah.
toilets.
Yeah.
That was the toilet available to me, and
Yeah.
my urgency outweighed anything my brain was gonna, and any rationality about like
Mhm.
don't sit on this steaming hot toilet
Yeah.
was overwhelmed by biology.
I wonder if
So
they fixed it
I
or
don't
if they've
know.
they've changed it by now. Although I think that if I were like, driving through like a Midwestern snowstorm and I found myself needing to go to the bathroom, I happened upon a hot actually, no, I think that I think that it would still be weird to me if I was coming from the cold and found like a piping hot toilet ready for
Hmm.
me.
No, it's very uncomfortable. It's very unlikable.
Oh my goodness. Oh, that's so bizarre.
Ah. We have on our list medieval times, the Music Box Theater,
Hmm.
and King Spa,
King Spa.
or other fancier spas should
Yeah,
a Groupon become available.
sure. Yeah. Or if like, I had like a very wealthy friend decide that they want to treat me there, or I just
Yeah,
decide to lose all sense of myself. I don't know if $140 is so bad to spend on entry into a spa, but if you're telling me that all that comes with is
is the
access to the spas
pools.
and yeah, the pools and like not even like a nice snack or I don't know, like a credit you could use at their juice bar. I mean, that doesn't seem like, yeah, no.
So I think that's why you end up, you're like, well, I guess I'll get a massage, because then
Right.
like
Mhm.
then the massage that's so the ultimate bath is 170 a person.
Hmm.
That's a self-care ritual to give yourself permission to truly connect with your own well-being. So that's 170. The holistic ritual 45, which sounds great. So this is like the baths, that's 170, right?
Okay.
So for 290, it's the baths, a 15-minute exfoliation, and a 45-minute body massage and hair treatment. So it makes you think like, well, 110 for all that. That's how they get you.
Yeah. It sounds like it's like cable television, right? Because I'm just thinking of like, because it's like I'll go to King Spa, for the bath experience. It's inexpensive, but it does involve a bit of work because I can't just. It's not easy.
Mm-hmm.
You can't get there in public transit, right? Or if you
Right.
take an Uber or ride share, it's like I have because I don't drive and I don't have a car. I have to rely upon the kindness of a friend who also wants, who's okay to drive. Whereas, like with the air at Ancient Spa, whatever, I can take the bus or the L down there. And then you have the added experience of like getting scrubs and massages, and I'm like, or a facial, and I think to myself, oh well, no, but I've always gone to the Aveda Institute, like the school in Lakeview, where I can get like an hour long facial,
Mm-hmm.
which comes with like massage to like my head, like for like $50. But it's like, when people are like, well, I'm going to cancel cable. I'm going to, watch stuff on like YouTube or Hulu on the internet, and I'll like sort of put my thing together. And I'm like, okay, you can do all those things, or you can just subscribe to cable television because it's just like one thing you have to worry about, as opposed to like multiple streaming services. And like the idea of like going to one place to do all those services, even if it is very expensive, is very tempting. That being said, however, King Spa also offers like all of those services as well. And they don't charge $145 just to walk into the room. It's like you get the Groupon, it's 28. That means you have extra money to spend on the body scrub, which is $100 there,
Mm-hmm.
or to spend more money there, at like, getting food there. And they serve like food like 24, like basically 24 hours a day. Because that's the other thing about King Spa. They're open 24 hours a day,
Mm-hmm.
which is super useful if like, if you're not, especially if like you don't work downtown, you don't work like 9 to 5, and you're like, the only time I can go to a place is like, at 11 o'clock on like a Tuesday night, where
Right.
you're going to King Spa. And you're going to probably have the place to yourself. So you can like, walk around naked, get your scrub, and then like, eat a corn dog while you're watching The Day After Tomorrow for like the fourth time.
Yeah. Truly a perfect night.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, Jasmine, thanks for doing a little impromptu record.
Of course. Thank you for having me
Yeah.
again.
Where
Yeah.
can people find you on the internet as it exists today?
Well, as it exists today, which is, yeah, you got to modify it with that. I'm still Jasmine D on Instagram, which I do a lot of my messaging actually these days. I'm still on Twitter. I haven't abandoned ship yet. Um, I'm on Mastodon as well, though not as much. But if you look for Jasmine D, I don't know if I'm the only Jasmine D on Mastodon, but I think if you look for me, I'll be there. I'll pop up. Yeah, and that's where I am. I'm also on TikTok, but my user handle there is your friend Jasmine, which, I'm still sort of annoyed about because I wasn't on TikTok early enough to get my preferred my handle of
Yeah.
choice. So yeah,
But you're a very good curator of TikToks.
I'd like to be. Yeah.
I really like this essentially reblog feature they've added
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. That's
because
that's great.
I get them from you and from a couple other people that have found that feature in my For You
Mm,
page. Um, and then it changes my algorithm. Like when I
hmm.
interact with one of those, it changes my For You page algorithm. It seems like in
Yeah,
a way that DM TikToks don't change the algorithm as much.
yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah. That's why I still really like using the For You page as opposed to the following
oh, I
page,
don't
even though.
ever look at my following
Oh, never,
page.
never. Yeah, because I think I follow so many accounts, but the thing is, my following page like only ever seems to serve up like the people like who don't even necessarily post the most. Like, I don't know if it's a
Yeah.
common people who post the most versus like people like who also follow me back, but it's just not as sort of. I feel like I don't get the full sort of like serendipitous random experience
Yeah.
that my For You page gives me. So,
Yeah. Like I follow people, especially if they're like content creators or like the people
yeah.
that are I'm on TikTok and I do videos occasionally, but I'm not a content creator, right? I'm not
Mhm.
trying to become a creator or make numbers or anything.
Mhm.
But when it's clear that somebody is like on like that's their vibe, I do try to give them a follow, and then I
Yeah.
just hope the For You page will keep them coming back.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. Same here.
great. Awesome. So people will your friend Jasmine or Jasmine D
Yeah.
online, and people will find you.
Yeah.
Um please
And yeah.
go ahead.
Oh no, I was just saying, yeah, and if you don't find me, then that's just too bad for you guys. I'm terrible.
You can subscribe to Finding Favorites on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, anywhere fine podcasts are free, available free. Because this one is. Please rate and review. That helps. And as you're telling people to listen to the podcast, tell them that Jason Mantzoukas recommended it, because that is true.
Yeah. Mhm.
Um, awesome. So thank you so much, Jasmine.
Well, thank you so much, Leah. It was nice talking to you.
Thank you for listening to Finding Favorites with Leah Jones. Please make sure to subscribe and drop us a 5-star review on iTunes. Now, go out and enjoy your favorite things.